Okay. All right, we're going to start. Welcome to everyone, and hopefully everyone's safe and healthy. And before we start, I just want to say congratulations to Jim Bowen, our mayor, on securing a second term. And I also want to say thanks to Joe Garitano, who really worked very hard to help Mayor Bowen get reelected. So with that, I guess we can do a roll call, Kathy.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Helfrey.
Here.
Commissioner Stevens. Commissioner Hudson.
She's muted.
Commissioner Tripp.
Here.
Commissioner Lawson. Commissioner Ward.
Here.
Chair Siebert.
Here.
Commissioner Garitano. And Commissioner Cruz.
Here.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes from May 6th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, are there any public comments?
No,
Madam-
ma'am. Sorry. We did not receive any prior to the meeting. There are 2 attendees in the Zoom call. I know one is Emily Willis with the WBA, and if you want to speak now, either do the raise hand or let me know in the chat. I know Emily's here also as we get to item 5B, if there are questions or if she has any input on that. She's here representing the Wildwood Business Association. And there is a second person in the attendees. So if we could wait just a minute, and if either would like to speak now, if they can either raise their hand or let us know in the chat so we can take care of that. We can wait just a minute, Madam Chair.
Okay.
And Emily said she's here if we need her during the WBA section, but she has nothing added now, and I'm not seeing anything from the other one. So I think we can move on to the next section of the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, the next section is 5, the 2020 Celebrate Wildwood, which is going to be held on Saturday, October 10th. So let's start with item A, potential changes to the event due to COVID. Okay, any comments?
Madam Chair, if you wouldn't
Yeah.
mind, I'd like to do a bit of an introduction to this particular item, as well as the next one on the agenda relating to the Wildwood Business Association with your
Okay.
permission.
It's fine with me. Mhm.
Thank you very much. Members of the commission, as you know, we held a meeting back in May to discuss the future of this year's event. At that time, there was a consensus amongst the commission members that it was a little too early to make any decisions relative to an October event and wanted to wait at least until this June meeting before making any tangible or concrete decisions. In preparation of tonight, the department did provide you a chart that was prepared by Kathy, Gary, Bree Kelchin, who's our recreation specialist, and I, and it looks something like this. And it kind of goes through all the components of the Celebrate Wildwood event. And these are components that we've provided over the years. And those components have subcomponents, concerns, and alternatives. So we provided that to you in advance of tonight's meeting, just to kind of see what we're up against in certain areas are components and what we're not. Suffice to say, I think the issue of COVID-19 hasn't really cleared much more than May. I say that knowing that County Executive Sam Page is going to lift the stay-at-home order, presumably on June 15th of this month, which means that all businesses can reopen. There'll be requirements associated with that, social distancing, sanitizing, certain group sizes, I believe, still will be in place. But suffice to say, we're moving in a direction of reopening everything, the economy and opportunities to our residents to participate. What we're seeing on the other side now is still apprehension, maybe not on some people's part, but on others about it's moving a little too fast. And that's premised on there is no vaccine to COVID-19. There has been no widespread testing, at least in the St. Louis County area. There is no contact tracing that seems to have been employed in a comprehensive basis. And so there's just a lot of factors that go into all of our decisions. So again, kind of setting the stage, you all wanted to wait till this meeting to at least have another month under our belt to see if there was some more clarity to what's going on, and then kind of see what direction you'd like to head. I'm going to jump ahead and then I'll conclude very briefly. Ms. Willis, as Kathy Arnett introduced her, is the president of the Wildwood Business Association. The association has over 200 members, all primarily here in the city of Wildwood. Ms. Willis and the organization, the Wildwood Business Association, stepped in when the barbecue bash organizer decided that it would not be in the best interest of his event to proceed forward in 2020 in the city of Wildwood. Ms. Willis stepped forward and said their organization would like to provide something of a similar nature so the event concept wouldn't be lost. Ms. Willis and others here at City Hall have had a conversation about this year, that event, our event, Celebrate Wildwood. And the feeling is that if we do have an event in October, that the WBA should partner with us in some fashion or form. We'd like to have them as a partner. They want to be a partner to the city, and I think it's a great partnership. We've done other events together and been successful there as well. So a lot of our decision-making not only impacts us as a commission and our event, but we also now have an opportunity to have a partner. And obviously, if we make a decision, that decision may impact that partner. So I just wanted to provide that explanation. We're appreciative of the Wildwood Business Association kind of stepping forward and wanting to tackle that challenge of putting on a large barbecue event here in Town Center. So it's really, the floor is up to you all to kind of provide some input, some direction, your thoughts, your concerns, and kind of let's hope we get to a point, a single point or a couple of points where we can kind of then make some decisions from. So thank you for your attention. And I know I always talk too much, but like I say, I just wanted to give the summary and also why Ms. Willis is with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, so of our commissioners, what are your thoughts? I know in looking over this document that you provided, the logistics and potential changes, when I read through it and I came to the area that says kids area and went down every one of those and some of the other things. So we can't, it appears that we're not going to be able to distance that much, or with stuff for the kids, it constantly has to be cleaned and sanitized. And the alternative is to eliminate it. And if we eliminate all that, really, what do we have? We don't have that much for the kids. So that caught my attention a lot. And I still think, I don't know, I know I thought of something like a plan B, doing an ice cream thing, and maybe going along with Pat Ward's suggestion of fireworks and combining the two. In other words, opening it up, we would have fireworks, and we'll provide dessert, and everybody else can bring chairs, blankets, and dinner, or a picnic or something like that. And we have ice cream vendors and maybe a giveaway with something with the new logo, and maybe even balloons with coupons to all the vendors in Wildwood, like 50 cents, $1, something like that. And each person gets to grab a balloon and see what's there. So I don't know. That was my plan B, because my concern is there is still so much apprehension. Okay, I've said my 2 cents. So everyone jump in. Come on.
Vicky's got her hand raised.
Thank you. I just unmuted myself. So I will throw just one thing of information out there, and that is that the Festival of the Little Hills, which is held every August, the third weekend of every August in St. Charles on Main Street, just canceled today.
Yeah.
So that's very disappointing. So I have a couple different comments, and I really don't have an answer except to say that maybe if I had to make a decision today, myself personally, I think I would do this. I don't know, because I think that we just have to get on with living. And I think that the people that are not afraid to go out and are going to do that. And the people that are afraid aren't going to do anything. I don't know. I mean, it's uncertain times, but I think that people need something to celebrate. That's just me. And this is an outside venue. So it's something to do outside. I think the fireworks is great. I think the ice cream is great. I don't quite understand why we couldn't do a balloon artist or Juggling Jeff. And as far as the parade goes, as I read this, it looks like it's spread out instead of, I can't tell if we're doing, instead of a parade, doing 5 different places. But I think that if it's going to be a Celebrate Wildwood thing, it all needs to be kind of in downtown Wildwood. So those are my thoughts. If I had to decide today, I would do it because it's outside, and I just think people need to have something. So that's all.
Thanks. Who else? Pat?
I don't know. I guess the expenditure is a concern.
Right.
Would be my main concern. I mean, if we bank on that and it just doesn't come off well, I don't know. I hear what you're saying, Vicki. Those that will, and those that won't, can't or won't. That's fine. But we're putting an awful lot into it, and if the kids have been marginalized from what this paper appears to represent to me, that there's not a whole lot for them to do that that follows guidelines. I mean, I could go either way, but I guess I'm worried about the expenditure.
Susan?
I think Joe is trying to talk.
Yes, I went to the Wildwood Farmers Market 2 weeks in a row, and I was quite impressed, and also got feedback from Miss Natalie McAvoy. She is the market manager, as well as a couple of attendees. The sentiment is good with the farmers market, that they like how that has turned out, and there have been some changes because of COVID. So Vendors are spaced out more. There's more of a traffic pattern around the farmers market. And my impressions, having attended the farmers market, is that people are coming out. There are folks that are being cautious, wearing a mask. There's some that choose not to. The vendors are required to wear masks. But I've been quite impressed because I wasn't sure what to expect with the market opening up right now. And I see that. And then we've now allowed restaurants to expand the number of tables outdoors and allow more spacing. And I've been to the Wildwood Pub and Grill to pick up some food, and I went and picked up some food over at Parkside Grill, and I was impressed as well. I was actually quite shocked at the turnout of people out there, and tables being spread out, limiting how many people probably could be in the same thing. So I get this sentiment that there are people that want to go on and want to start to get back out and start doing things. There's a built up frustration being indoors. And it sounds like with the precautions that are in place between wearing masks, sanitizing things, that seems like folks are willing to take the advantage of the opportunity to do that. So it's made me rethink about the Celebrate Wildwood event, because, and it's hard to tell because there aren't any events similar to that are occurring right now where we could compare. I think the only thing that comes to mind is that the high schools are doing the graduations. I think as I speak this week in the evenings. Now they're doing it in a large area. I don't know too much about it, but from the pictures that I've seen shared on the city's website or social media page, people are out. And so with the announcement that June 15th, the county's going to open up, I think we're going to see another step more towards a normality of people starting to resume activities, but with the extra cautious steps being implemented when they need to be, such as the wearing of masks, sanitizing, extra stations like they do at the farmers market. So I don't want to, my opinion, and again, it's just my opinion, is I don't know that I want to rule out completely an event, because we may be able to execute it with some of those recommendations that have been provided in this document that we could do. And there might be some alternatives to the children's event. I see a message that Miss Emily Willis just wrote to the group that there's a magic show guy for the kids. So I'm going to put this out there for now and see what you all think. But I just wanted to share that these are my observations just from going out and seeing things.
Joe,
I
have you
was-
thought about how we would manage the numbers, or, how would that work? How would that look in terms of how do you do that? How do you have so many people, or because it's such a free flow day? I'm just thinking, I don't know. I'm just asking, had you thought about that? I know you're saying the farmers market distanced things, but I would hope we would probably have a lot more people, that if we did this, we would hope to have a lot more people.
And how would the artists feel if, they're going to do a 2-day event, if the traffic isn't there, or, this is an outdoor event and we're still celebrating. We're just not, it's not as big, and we're not expending all that money. It will be smaller. And then have something really big next year where we're not concerned about the budget as much.
Madam Chair, Gary Cruz had a conversation with an artist today that he might want to relay to all of you.
Okay,
Well, as you all probably know, when we opened up the registration on his application, we almost immediately got 22 registrants that signed up for the art festival. And then the bottom fell out of the world. And now his application hasn't moved in almost 10 weeks. And we still have the same 22 artists. Today, I got a call from an individual who is trying to do his first art show. And he had lots of questions for me. And one of his comments was that he's checked around with several art shows that have all canceled. And then he expressed concerns about how it would be spaced and how we would handle the COVID thing. And so I just told him that we were going to be discussing that in the committee meeting tonight, and that I probably know more tomorrow. But right now I told him we are planning to move forward, but it is a concern. And I think it indicates even greater concern that we've had no movement on his application in 10 weeks.
mm-hmm.
Susan,
And that is a big concern.
Susan, could I add another perspective
Yeah.
to this? Some of the scouts are doing, besides canceling summer camp, which of course is before October, they have that big activity planned in October that I've told you about. They do it once every 10 years here in the St. Louis Area Council, which includes Illinois and that. Once every 10 years, big deal. They've canceled it in October. It's the week before Celebrate Wildwood. And the reason they canceled it is for similar reason that they canceled summer camp. One, of course, they're concerned about the safety of everybody. And part of that safety is having youngsters keep masks on. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. And so that was one of their concerns. But their other concern was the quality of the program, which I think is getting back to what you were touching on also. They were afraid, even if they tried to put it on, they weren't going to, because of the social distancing and all the restrictions, they weren't going to be able to have a quality program at that Scout Fest in Forest Park. And so they decided to postpone it till next year. They got to reschedule for next year, but that was a big decision. And I think those two items are exactly what we're talking about here is besides safety with youngsters, with youth, can we have a quality program with all the restrictions? And that they decided not to try and just postpone it a year.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about the artist. They're going to be in tents, right? Don't they set up in the tents where the artwork is? That's an
Yes,
awful
ma'am.
enclosed area for them to be in when people start coming in there and other people.
That's true.
I've got
So-
a question, if I could ask.
Yeah.
So we have events that are planned sooner than the Celebrate Wildwood. And that's really why it's tough, because we don't have anything comparable to be able to see how it does, right? I mean, we knew there was an event that was occurring and we got feedback about it, whether the social distancing measures made it a tough time to have fun at, or it wasn't successful. You know, that would make our decision easier. But we've got, Joe, is there still the intention to have a concerts before the Celebrate Wildwood? And what's the thinking behind that? How's that going to be managed when you have that main street filling up with people? What would you do to encourage spacing, or what would be occurring?
Main Street is a constricted area. So the July concert, we've talked about that. We actually think we should cancel that. It's just too early on the heels of even the change in the stay at home order by the county executive. In terms of the back to school party, we're kind of waiting to see what Rockwood School District decides in terms of their upcoming school year. If they go to a virtual school year at the start, that's a big signal that they're still concerned about potential problems with COVID-19. And we probably will follow suit and not have the back to school party, just because, again, Rockwood School District is a very good indicator of what's safe and what's not safe when you're involving school-age children.
But can we afford to wait that long?
That was my question. When is our drop dead vendor people contract date?
Well, Gary provided the memo that was part of tonight's packet. And as you can see, it varies. The city has a great reputation with many of the vendors that provide us services and equipment. Many of them are like, we'll wait till the last minute. We'll hang on. We'll defer the deposit. Many of them are unsure as we are. They don't know if comes fall, they're just going to get swamped, or it's going to be like it is now, just limited interest. But I think we still have some flexibility in terms of time. I think we could go to July and probably still get most of what we need, maybe not all. And I would defer to Gary to correct me if I'm saying something wrong. But I think we have a little bit of time, Ms. Ward.
Well, maybe it would be good for us to use that time. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't know what the downside of if it's not going to cost us, or they're not going to say you still have to pay even if you don't go through with it. I don't see the advantage of making a decision when we don't really know yet. Maybe we can see about other art fairs too, because I mean, Tilly's Park has one. I mean, Queenie, they all have art fairs, right? In the summer, spring, summer. So we can see if they're canceling. I heard that someone said that the St. Charles one did cancel, but
Yes, and the park has already canceled down at Francis Park.
oh,
It canceled already. They did that early on. I think it was March.
oh, wow.
But we research this, we follow this. So yes, if we get news of other art festivals or fairs canceling, we'll certainly let you know, even if it's in advance of a meeting.
Joe, what is the liability of all this event with the COVID virus? I mean, in real estate now, when we list a house, we have to have them sign a waiver of responsibility if they contract the virus.
Well, municipal governments have something called sovereign immunity, so we can't be sued.
Okay.
We maintain roads, people have accidents on roads. If we didn't have sovereign immunity, we'd be sued all the time.
Okay.
So I think we're safe in that regard. And we did contact our insurance broker about the question from last meeting. Is there such a thing as COVID-19 insurance? Purchase the
Not
insurance if you don't have the event. And they said they know of nothing like that.
It'd be very expensive, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Rain insurance is expensive, let me tell you.
yeah, I mean,
Well, Joe, Kathy, if we did go to a plan B and we did, the fireworks with the ice cream and basically, the giveaways, which is outdoors, and people would come, we just wouldn't have all the extra expenditures that we would for a normal Celebrate Wildwood. How long would that take to put together if we decided to go that route?
Well, and could we have it at town center? Because that's still, to me, somewhat of a contained space.
Well, we
I've
would
seen
do
the different-
the fireworks would be in that open field,
Oh,
So-
and the people would just
I
sit.
think.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, but I guess, the same concerns that, have been mentioned about people crowding where the vendors are in tight spaces. I think that's the question, is how do you manage
Excuse me.
people coming into the field and basically telling them that these groups have to be spaced apart, because people will just start to congregate together. Especially
Right.
if you get families that know each other. So if we're going to be focused on the social distancing, I think we have to have a plan on how to do that. And, you know, I've heard stories where they're drawing circles out on fields so that people grab a circle and they claim it and it's theirs. You know, there probably would have to be, you know, a limited entry, you know, a kind of fencing, maybe an entrance for people coming in and an exit for people coming out, because that's another
True.
guideline. They don't want people to cross paths, you know, that they're doing that with the schools as well, with arrows and stuff. So, you know, I think we'd have to think through that, and you could do something like that. Probably a lot of space out on the field if you were to designate those spaces where people can claim. And then maybe it's fireworks, maybe it's a little, you know, maybe there's some music or something too to go along with the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, maybe there's feels like there's got to be something though, right? There's got to be like,
Yeah,
usually we have a
Yeah, we
concert.
do.
I want, yeah. And you know, what about those, you know, those moon glow, what do you call those lantern things that go up? Those are nice, something different. Those like they have at the garden.
They do
Mhm.
that in Eureka as well. Yeah, I don't
Oh.
know though. In our area, that might
Oh, it's too many trees.
start falling on houses.
Oh, okay.
I think
Anyway.
some cities are actually recommending that people watch from their home if they're able to view the fireworks. So I don't know how visible the fireworks would be from town center to a lot of the homes around, or maybe there's different viewing stations that are set up around the town center, but just giving people some options of where they could view it without having to view it in the field in one location.
That's a great
I
idea.
live off of Birch Forest, and when the trees were there before they started doing all the new construction and housing and neighborhood and that, we could see the top half of the fireworks. Once they cleared out the trees and there were no houses, we could see the entire show from my house. But now that there are houses, it's back to like having trees there. Maybe we spend a little bit more on some higher or larger fireworks so that farther people could see it. What about, I know like people do Christmas lights and turn to a radio station. If we did something like that with some music and people would turn around the radio station and then the fireworks would go to music or something like that, then people could stay home. They're still kind of interacting.
That sounds good too.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to leave for a moment. I'm sitting here and I looked out my patio and here's the deer who comes here every night, and she was on the patio and she went for this one plant. So I raced off and I fed her. She's eating now, not my flower. So I'm back. Anyway.
so Madam Chair, with your permission, internally, we've had a discussion, and I really think there's two approaches. We try to do a regular event under the cloud of COVID-19. And if we were to pursue that, and that's certainly the commission's option, I think it should be an event minus the art festival. And maybe it's a Friday night with the assistance of the WBA and a Saturday only.
Okay.
All the things that Councilmember Garitano mentioned about how we plan it, we would do that. Following the lead of Miss Wilson and Miss Tripp, we've also talked about, why don't we take the event to the people? Have the neighborhoods become the event grounds. Have them decorate the front of their subdivisions, and instead of a parade, we judge the floats, we judge their entries on their 25th anniversary.
Okay, that's an idea.
And then we encourage them to have small groups, and maybe we work with the restaurants like they did for the graduation party packs to have the 25th anniversary party pack. So groups in the subdivision can order food, they can be in a common ground. And then we try to do better fireworks that are more visible from the area around here. So we have a couple of approaches. We stay with the template we've used, but modify it, or we try to go out into the community and say, you're all part of this. Why don't you all be involved in it? And we'll bring things to you to make it a special day and night.
Joe, is there any way we could maybe have a vote on the website? Put it out there and see what the people think? Get a feel that way?
I would defer to the commission. We've done that on a lot of things, naming parks, naming streets,
Why don't
etc.
we just say, what do you feel about this?
Yeah, maybe it's just present a couple, like 3, 4 options and say,
Would you come?
yeah,
Yeah.
would you prefer option A, same type event as last year? Option B, a, scaled down event. Option C might be, whatever it is. And, just keep it simple, 3, 4 options. Then we can at least know what people think. And I think it has to be asked in a question that it's like, you want to make sure people are thinking about what it would be like in October, not how they feel like right now, because otherwise right now there might still be concerns, but they might feel safer or feel more comfortable doing things.
I think we need to have a cutoff date though for that voting, and some of that is going to depend on what the schools do, what Rockwood schools do too. If they go to a virtual couple of months right in the beginning, may change. I don't know. And we may not be able to wait that long to
Well, we
plan
have until
something.
July, correct? Is that what you said, Joe? That we have until July to make a real decision?
I think in early July, we need to have a plan in place and start to implement it, because we're talking about a few months to get everything in place, regardless.
Well,
of what
our next meeting is July 8th. So are we talking about that would be the drop dead date? That's it?
I'd like
I
to
think-
think if the commission would accept it, I think that's a good kind of line in the sand.
Yes. And I like Joe Garantano's idea of putting it on the website with choices. Oh, sorry, sorry, Vicki.
It's all right. You can take me off of that big old screen now, though. So I will say that in my mind, if we could wait, there we go, that's better. I would like to make a motion, if that's what you're looking for. My personal opinion of the options, Joe, that you gave, I liked the first one about the scaled down event, unfortunately without the artists, maybe just 2 days. I don't like the idea of taking it to the neighborhoods, because as we've seen in the past, there are a lot of neighborhoods that just you can't get them involved. And I speak from experience on that. And plus there's some neighborhoods like, I think the part of Wildwood is in the back part of Wild Horse Creek. So how do you get part of that neighborhood, but not all of that neighborhood? So my opinion would be to try to do the first one that you offered. And my second opinion would be that we wait and not cancel it until the last absolute possible minute, which would be, I guess, the July 8th. So that's my opinion, the world according to Vicki, because I just think that I'm praying and hoping that things are going to be better by then. So that's my motion, is to accept that and to wait until
Second it.
July 8th.
Right.
And repeat that motion again. What are we voting now?
Oh,
Say it
for the
again.
love of Pete, I don't know if I could say it all again. My motion is to put it off, making the decision to cancel it until July 8th, to have a final decision at our next meeting.
Okay.
And then, and then the other, I guess that would be the only part of that motion. And then another motion I would make would be that I liked Joe's first option. So those are two separate motions.
Okay, so
We
I'll
need
vote on the first motion. I'll second her first motion about putting the decision off until July 8th. I'll second that. I
All
think
in
you have to vote
favor?
on one or the other first before you put another one up.
All
All
in
in
favor to
Aye.
postponing? Okay. Any objections? All right.
I would
The
also like to
second-
know if we could put the survey up in between time, between now and before so we'll have some more information to look at or go by. If that's,
Well, that's a good idea. I agree with Vicky, though. A lot of residents are just not going to put that kind of time in. And then we have a lot of residents who come that don't live in a subdivision. They live on 3 acres. So that really eliminates them.
You
Yes.
know, we went out to a couple of restaurants once they started opening up, and we went to Annie Gunn's the first night, and it was very good. I had my apprehensions. It was our first outing like that, but I mean, they had the spaces nice, and the people were wearing a mask. I felt very comfortable there, and it was wonderful to be out again. I felt like I was being out of jail, and it was very pleasant. And then we went to another one, which wasn't as, it was spaced out, but people weren't keeping their distance. So you have to kind of watch with that. So, but it's not, it wasn't as many people as would be at this art fair. I think the distancing, keeping people their distance is going to be the hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hardest.
Okay. So,
It's important to try and simplify the event as much as we can, but still make it entertaining. I think there is another level of complexity when we do add in the art fair. Plus, if people are not really comfortable to come out, and all of those artists have shown up, put in their time and their resources to be there, I just think that's another level of complexity that we may not want to move forward with.
so we are definitely saying we don't want to have the art fair. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, and again, as Ms. Wilson just mentioned, the art fair adds a whole level of different task. And it is in principle a 3-day event. They set up on Friday. They have the show on Saturday and Sunday. And so it's just a long event as well. And there's just, like I say, a certain amount of unknown, particularly after hearing from the one artist that's been searching for venues to have his first show at and not being successful finding any. And really, I think his question was more a question, are you sure you're going to have this, knowing what you know? And so I think with the partnership with the WBA, if we did something on a Friday evening and then Saturday, I think we can do our best. The biggest concern I have is if it's still required, sanitizing the tables and chairs and common surfaces. We just don't have enough volunteers to do that.
right.
And I don't think we'll be able to have enough volunteers to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we got to think that through, obviously. But I would hope you would agree that it may be a simpler event in 2020, returning back to more normal circumstances in 2021 might be the best approach.
I agree with that. And, but I still think we ought to put it out on the website and see if we get any comments, if people vote on it. But give them a cutoff date of July.
So if we did a survey on the web, we would be asking if we held an event on October 10th, October 9th and October 10th, would you attend? And the other question would be, do you have any suggestions? Or I think the way Ms. Helfrey worded her motion originally, she did not want to kind of take the event out to the neighborhoods. She wanted a more centralized one. So what would be the purpose of the survey, I guess?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Hudson.
I would think just to see how many people would feel comfortable coming to an event like that.
Okay, can I comment on that? I think that between now and October, you're going to get very different answers. I think it's going to depend on if there's a spike. I think it's going to depend on if people go out and start living normal, quote unquote normal over the summer. So I think that we might get misinformation on accident if we put out a survey and ask people those questions, because I think you would get very different answers over the span of 60 days. And I don't think that it will be, my personal opinion is I don't think it will be worth spending the money to do anything if we're going to try to send it out to different neighborhoods. I just don't think that'll be successful. I think that you will have pockets of success, but I think the vast majority won't be successful.
Right. I don't either.
I think
The other thing about this, the survey, if we put it out there and everybody overwhelmingly says have it, and we still have our reservations in terms of safety and distancing and all that, then we're kind of put in a bind because we put it out there. They told us what they wanted. Now we won't deliver or can't or shouldn't feel like we can't deliver.
So maybe if we do this, instead of setting up tables to have food tables to eat, we say, we put out a mailer, bring a chair, bring a blanket, and then our vendors could serve things in to go. I think that's what they're doing at all the restaurants. They're doing everything to go, or they're doing it in styrofoam. We've eaten from several restaurants, and that's exactly what happens. And so maybe we do that. We say, bring a chair, bring your blanket. There's plenty of room to spread out in town center. Those fields, because I believe they said we could use that one field. We may have the town green that we can use. We have all of the places that we're going to put vendors or artists. We have places where people could spread out. So
And just have a scaled down event.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good idea. I mentioned it. I was invited to Mayor Boland's, he had a little thing last night for victory. Anyway, I went and I was talking to some of the people that were there, and I got a lot of positive feedback for a scaled down event. Because people ask me, do I volunteer or work in the city? And I told them I was on this commission. And they said, are you really going to have this event? And I said, well, we're going to decide that maybe tonight. I said, but a couple of people have brought up options for a scaled down event, and they liked that. So those were comments that were said last night. So anyone else?
So Madam Chair and members of the commission, we'll be glad to do a survey, but if your direction is a scaled down event, the only other really question I feel we could ask them is do you have an opinion on something else? Is there another approach you'd like us to consider?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, I think maybe we better steer clear of the survey right now. I think we've got enough, enough to deal with without some more. I think maybe, I thought it was great. It would be good to get input, but I'm sure, what are we going to do with the input? That's the issue.
And I know there's some on the screen that haven't said anything or have provided some comment. I mean, this is the time. Ms. Arnett, Sergeant Wendling, Ken McGowan. What are you all thinking?
Do we want to be the cause of having it start back up again in October? Because of this event. Yeah, and I have a question also in the scale down or any of these versions that we're talking about, because I got a little confused on the handouts this time. Are we talking about none of the kids' activities?
Actually, Jolly Jumps is the one that pulled the plug on the event, not us. The owner of Jolly Jumps just said, we can't sanitize enough to make it safe and to guarantee a safe environment. They pulled out, not us. And the same goes for the climbing wall.
Yeah.
It's all hands-on.
So from what I'm reading, except for a scaled down version of what the scouts do, there isn't any kids activities,
Well,
Right.
right?
we may be able to have, Miss Willis mentioned a magic show. We may be able to think of some other safer options that require less hands-on things.
Well, everything we do is hands-on, so we'd have to figure out how to sanitize also. And the reason I'm asking is if there's only going to be one or two kids things, Joe, you know this from the past. Scouts are great. It's great activities, people that are there and enjoy it, but they don't come for that. And I'd be afraid that we'd be putting a lot of effort into it and nobody be there with their kids because there's really not a kid activity going on. And if I can just add another complication to it, by waiting till July now, July and August, I'm not going to get anything done with anybody because between adults going on vacation, the scouts are gone too. We wouldn't be able to start planning till September. And so we could maybe do it. We've done it, we've done this before. This isn't the first time we're doing it, but we're going to have a very short time frame to plan it. But I'm more concerned about, it goes back to the quality of program. Do we really have anything going on enough to bring families out with their kids like in the past? And if we don't, well, then what are we doing? Those would be my comments since you asked, Joe.
I think everybody wants to hear from everybody. At least I do. I shouldn't speak for others.
I'll put in my 2 cents. And Vicki and Councilman Garitano, I hear you. I've eaten out in a restaurant. My family is itching. They are feeling bound in. But my concern is, as a city, do we want to be the one out in front? If it does come back where there is contact tracing by then and 50 cases come back to celebrate Wildwood, do we want as a city to have that? It's an unknown. This entire pandemic, we've said since the beginning, this is something that we will not know we've made the right decision until it's hindsight. And I would hate to see have people get sick. I would hate to see negative PR that will last for years, where I'm not going to celebrate Wildwood. That's where so-and-so got sick last time. And I just have great concerns about the city leading the charge that with the potential of that we don't know. We just don't know from a public health and safety perspective. I hear what you're saying on the neighborhood events. It wasn't totally my idea, but this has been running in my head. I lived in a 3-acre subdivision in Wildwood. We had neighborhood block parties all the time. I think that, and there are people that live not in a neighborhood. They could have their family over. We could have Wildwood party packs. The people who aren't going to organize a neighborhood party are the same people who aren't going to come. I mean, we don't get every Wildwood resident to show up and celebrate Wildwood.
Right.
We get a lot of people that aren't even Wildwood residents, and we get maybe 10,000. We have 38,000 residents. So the expectation that everyone takes part, I think, just isn't practical. But we've talked about like the 5 events that are listed in the what we gave you all. When we think about in 25 years, what are the biggest things Wildwood has done? What are the things we could be celebrating? Parks and trails. We had no parks. We had no miles of trails. Now we are a regional destination. We have people move here for parks and trails. And that is a way that we can showcase those areas. We can employ social distancing and spacing and all those other things, but provide some fun events. And so maybe we have, in the morning instead of the parade where people are kind of sitting all on top of each other. And if you've ever been to the start of the parade, I don't know how you'd social distance. And kids social distance like this. So, they just don't get it. So the thought was we showcase those. I mean, I think the difficult thing is all of 2020 would be a significant departure from every Celebrate Wildwood anyone is ever used to. But if 2020 isn't the year of significant departures in life, I don't know what an example of that would be. And so if some of it fails, if we have a bunch of neighborhoods that maybe don't participate, that's okay. We don't have to stick with this. This isn't a change forever. This is a change to provide an event. You know, and I'm picturing city council could get involved, the commission could get involved, and staff, and we are the road crew, and we are hitting neighborhoods who have registered, and we are providing party packs, and we could, you know, there's food and all these other activities. We could have giveaways with the 25th anniversary on. We could have mugs and pencils. Kids are going to be back in school, and all these things that could appeal to kids, families, but we're not bringing them to one location with so many unknown questions. And the last thing I will say is, yes, I think from July, we could somehow pull this off. But I think the longer we kick the can down the curb, down the street, the more difficult it's going to be to plan quality, whatever it is. And I keep hearing that coming back. If we're going to spend the money, let's make it something really great. I think that's one thing we do. We don't have as many events maybe as some other cities, but darn it, when we have them, they're fabulous. And I think that that's the reputation that we want to still stick with and try and do that. So I think it's, you know, we just need to, what do we want to do? Are we going to venture away? Are we going to do a scaled down version? I don't know. I don't have, there's too many questions, I think, and I don't have great advice, but that's my 2 cents that probably made things more confusing.
Anyone else?
Well, I can offer my 2 cents if you, Ms. Ebert.
Yes.
I agree with Kathy. And I've also discussed with Joe almost every day. I sit down and discuss with Joe, Celebrate Wildwood. And I'm not a big fan of promoting this from a couple of reasons. The social distancing stuff is always a problem, but the financial aspect is a big problem. If we spend all that money and then nobody comes, we wasted the money. That's my opinion, obviously. However, if we do decide to plan something, which I'm totally agreeable to that also, if we do decide, I think we ought to work with what we have in place. And that is, we have a very good band in place. We have fireworks in place. And I think we ought to just have a glorified concert. I think we have an entire field that we could probably make a lot of 6-foot circles just to do our part in the social distancing. What happens after that isn't our fault, but we could shoot for that. The band's in place. We have a great concert. We have a great fireworks display. We just encourage people to bring their own things to eat and their own drinks and to enjoy an evening. That's easy to plan. It's also easy to cancel. And we would save a lot of money in the process too. And that's all I have to say about it.
I really like
I
that.
like that idea.
Yeah.
I like that too.
And
maybe we could do like ice cream with vendors and space them out, you know.
it might be too cold in October for ice cream.
It
You
might,
you really
but
like
you
the ice
never
cream,
know.
Susan.
I think Susan needs to go to Silky's or Main Street Creamery.
Yeah.
She needs an ice cream.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kidding about the too cold part. I like ice cream too. But I was just going to say that is a great idea. You know, just get
Mhm.
down to that. And again, I don't see anything that's telling us we need to have a decision tonight. But maybe we mentally are prepared that might be the lever we have to pull a month from now. And you know, unless something changes dramatically between now and next month, where either cases go down dramatically or you know we see something that makes us want to rethink it, maybe that is what we will then move towards when we meet in a month to say, okay, nothing's changed with the situation, this is our backup plan, and it's a hybrid of either what Gary said or it is completely what Gary said. But I would just say if we've got a little bit of time, then let's just do it. We don't have to make that decision just this moment now, but that's what we're looking.
But one thing though, on July 8th, we do make the decision. We
Yes.
can't we can't put it off anymore. So we need to think about everything tonight and be prepared July 8th to make a decision.
Right, no one's asked for any extensions.
Right.
July 8th's the date.
I would like to say one thing. If a decision needed to be made before then, I would personally 100% defer to the city, I'd be very confident in them you all making the decision if it needed to be made before our next meeting.
Not
Good
trying to
point.
pressure anyone into an earlier decision with my comments. I think the motion was fine, and I think that you all can make the decision in July, and that will be perfectly fine.
Okay.
Thank you for
Okay.
your confidence, Ms. Helfrey, but it's a decision you all need to make. And what the department will do, we'll provide you a summary of the ideas tonight so that when you're thinking about it over the next few weeks, if you think, well, what was that? You'll have something to reference back. So we can do that as well and be glad to provide that beginning of next week.
Great. Okay, is there anything else?
Well, I have a request.
Yes.
We have a partner, the Wildwood Business Association, that would like to be part of whatever we do. So I would like to at least have the support of the commission that if we do a single day event and it's focused on the concert and fireworks, that the WBA might have a role in that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yes. Is everyone in favor of that?
Yes.
I think it's
Yes.
the WBA attending right now. I thought I saw Miss Willis. Maybe she wants to share a few words as to what, or maybe she's not anymore. Let's see, is she there?
Yeah.
She is there.
Well, if she isn't,
I'm here.
Madam Chair, is that okay if we ask her just to maybe introduce herself and just,
sure.
throw out ideas she'd like to share with the group?
That's fine.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so the WBA we have lots of volunteers. Obviously, we have the support of lots of businesses in the Wildwood area, and we can help with the cleaning, or if you guys do want to do that scaled down version that you talked about where it's only the one day with the fireworks and stuff, we can get our restaurants involved to do the party packs. Maybe they can pick up their food packages like we did for graduation and have it at the fireworks event. Or we kind of threw around the idea of having Oktoberfest beer tasting as well. Oktoberfest, because that could be something that we could hand out, like a souvenir glass that had the Wildwood 25th anniversary logo on it, and then also keep social distancing by that as well, having it going one way. You can't go back through. Nobody touches a glass type things like. So there's a lot of social distancing we can do with that to add another level to it. But that would have to be something that we would have to get on pretty quickly, and it would be a lot harder to cancel as well, because a lot of breweries that would get involved would be brewing beer at least 6 weeks to 10 weeks ahead of time for that event.
Okay.
Well, Ms.
Is
Willis, do you think July 8th is a workable deadline for that as well?
Yes, but it couldn't go beyond that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. It was very nice meeting you.
You as well.
Thanks. Okay, is there anything else? Any other comments? If not, we can adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I can second.
Okay. All right. See everyone on July 8th. All in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Willis. And thank
Thank
you,
you.
staff of the Department of Planning. Ken, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.